if you see yourself as the center of a religious doctrine, so you open up the Bible and you think this was all written for me specifically, you're going to be able to interpret a way in which it's like, oh, these are all these different ages and dispensationalism. You look and see it and you're like, well, we must be on the precipice of the final, age of humanity, the millennial kingdom, or whatever it is in your, obviously there are different interpretations of that, but it all comes from this point of view of inserting yourself into the center of the religious doctrine. The same thing can go for legitimately every religious text and religious community. This is every single religious community. You see people taking their religious texts that have been made over thousands of years and making it all sort of culminate in the individual. And whether that's the individual community or whether that's the individual person. And within Pentecostalism, you see this, like, Dowie did that. And you have all of these different individuals claiming to be Elijah. And at some point, you're like, well, no, you can't all be Elijah. And maybe we should stop. When someone claims that they're Elijah, maybe that should be a good red flag of, okay, they're inserting themselves into this end times narrative, right? And they have been reading the Bible and saying, this is all for me, this is all about me, and this is all going to end here. But it's hard because we are locked in the time frame that we live. And so Mike Bickle can still kind of be like, well, the end times is coming. It's just right around the corner. And when will it be? I think we can look back and say, okay, Dowie was wrong in his early 1900s. And clearly there's been much that has progressed since then. But at what point do we get to say, you weren't right? And it's difficult because it's probably not in my life. Like, throughout my entire lifetime, I will be 85 and I will be talking with people who I grew up with in IHOP, and they'll be like, it's right around the corner. It's just right there. Like, when does it die? When do we realize, no, this wasn't the time. The entire gospel wasn't written for us specifically. This entire narrative of the world isn't leading to Kansas City, Missouri, or Los Angeles or wherever you are. This is bigger than us, and we're a part of that, and that's fine. That's the whole problem. I think one of the biggest problems that I've had growing up is realizing, like, it's okay to be a name within many other names in a larger story. I don't have to be a part of the end times church. I don't have to be the son of the grand prophet. I don't have to lead tens of thousands to the Lord or do whatever. There's so much ego wrapped up in these end times church movements. And it was destructive to my sense of being and self. I felt like I had to also take on that level of ego and believe that it was me and that I was going to work and do miracles and raise the dead, and that Jesus was going to return in my time and say, well done, good and faithful servant. And that I was going to reign by his side for 1,000 years. And, I wish I would have just focused on being a good brother, being a good son, being a good Christian or agnostic or whatever religious, being a good person, and be satisfied with the more mundane but true stories of the world and of my life. I don't know if that resonates with you at all. I don't know. You were getting into it because you were transfixed on figuring out all the details of it. I got into it because of the ego of all of it. So maybe you were just a better person. But
No, I definitely had some ego there. One of the things that was most humbling to me was once I escaped and started reevaluating my life, I started noticing that the word pride is mentioned. I did a count one time. I lost the number, but it's mentioned so many times in the New Testament as one of the sins. I mean, you're reading these lists of sins from the Apostle Paul, and pride is in almost every list. And I realized that I was very prideful, and rightfully so, because I was in a group that we were trained to be prideful. We were the elite of the Christians, right?
right.
But I wanted to, like you said, I did want to understand, and it drove me down paths of research that I don't think has an end. The problem is this: we were raised in a religion that liked to take certain phrases from the Bible literally, and then call the literalists or the fundamentalists, we would call them in error, because the Bible has different genres and different parallels and different analogies, and you can't read everything literally. But we fell into the same error because we would make the same mistakes. And I realized very quickly that the doomsday focus isn't something that was new within our lifetime or even Dowie's lifetime. As far back as I could go in research through time, back all the way back to the early Gnostics, you had problems like this. In 1 Thessalonians, I think it's 4, Paul says, "We who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds." Paul is literally saying there that he will be alive and he will remain when the rapture comes. So then every single group of Christians after that statement was made who took that as literal prophecy, or I don't even know what you call it, but believed his statement to be accurate, they all were looking for this any day this will happen. And you had two categories of people. You had people that understood the meaning and the themes that were written in those letters from Paul. Then you had the others that are so hyper-focused on, oh my gosh, the end is coming. What do I do? What do I do? How do I save myself? And they literally separated into two categories of people, one in grave error. And so that's what birthed like the Ascetics. So people were abusing themselves, trying to deny themselves pleasures of the world because the world's going to end. We don't need it. Let's save ourselves by becoming more holy by omitting different things. And you had it's funny and sad all at the same time. I was reading through, I think it's the book Against Heresies by Irenaeus, the first apologist. And anyway, there was a specific group of Gnostics that they went so far as to condemn sex. And this group died out because if you can't have sex, you can't produce offspring, and your group just dissolves. So that group is no more, right? But it went forward and through time. Every group that took the theme of apocalypse now and tried to save themselves by getting into a hyper state of awareness of their own spirituality, they all failed and they all went into some error. And like you said earlier, I don't want to make light of the sexual things that happened at IHOP, but the core of the problem isn't that. That's just the smoking gun. And if you look back through time, all the way back, dating back to the, 300s, I think, maybe early 400s, you have time and time again where similar errors are happening, but they're all working themselves into such a frenzy that literally they're going insane.